This is video 1 of a series of videos around rules. I've decided to do a series because rules for people on the spectrum is something that's very important. It helps to establish what is right, what is wrong, and how to live their life. So, for instance, myself, when I was young, I was being told what the rules were by my parents. Now, each one of those rules needed to be tested. It might be something like, don't eat in the kitchen. Oh, sorry, not don't eat in the kitchen. Eat in the kitchen. So I would eat in the kitchen, but if I wanted to watch the TV and it was in the lounge room, is it wrong if I am still in the kitchen because you've got the line between the carpet and the floor? So therefore, that is obviously where the floor is the kitchen, and where the carpet is not the kitchen. If I can stand on the line, I'm still in the kitchen, so therefore I should be able to eat there. Now, the problem being is that the food would fall on the carpet, so therefore the intent of the rule was not what was actually stated, so therefore it taught me to process what was meant around a rule. Another classic example might be that I am allowed 1 glass of cordial per day. Okay, what if the glass of cordial is never filled, i.e. I drink it as I pour it? Therefore, I am only having 1 glass of cordial. It's just that that glass of cordial is a bottomless glass. So, again, not the intent of the rule. So, you begin to learn what the intent is around the rules. It means that you will go back and you will process the information to check the validity of the intent of the rule against the practicality of the rule. When I got older, I joined the army. The army has a lot of different rules, and because of the fact that it has so many rules, it's actually not a bad situation for those on the spectrum to join. It can create issues because people have a perception as to what those on the spectrum are capable of doing. Now, the difficulty with the army is not the amount of rules. That works out fantastic. It is that the rules are already pre-formatted, so they expect that you are going to simply accept the rule and follow it. But if you're used to processing what those rules are and seeing how they apply, it can then have a negative impact on you because you're trying to do what you believe is correct, and a normal or a neurotypical has their perception of what is correct, and they have not necessarily been able to relay that correctly. That I found was probably easier in the army than what I found in the rest of my work life, because in most jobs that you actually go and do, they have no concept of how to explain the rules to you. So they will explain a job, but not the ins and outs, whereas the army will stipulate, this is what you're going to do, this is how you're going to do it, this is when you're going to do it. Not necessarily the why, which is annoying. Whereas in the within the private sector, you get a job. They will tell you that they want you to operate this machine, or that they want you to manage these people, or that you're to write certain reports. But they don't go into exactly what their expectations are, which can be very, very difficult. So that can create a lot of angst, and it actually puts, I believe, a lot of people on the spectrum offside a little bit because they feel that they can't do the job even though they're more than capable of doing it. If you think working for someone is difficult, wait until you get married. Marriage doesn't really come with rules. It doesn't come with very much at all, apart from you are supposed to love this person, that person is supposed to love you, and you have a perception that they will understand where you're coming from, and they have a perception that you will understand where they're coming from. And guess what? It don't work like that. Communication is key. If you do not communicate, if you do not explore what your expectations are, if you like, establish those rules, it can be very, very difficult. Now, having said that, when I was first married, first wife, I can remember her making the observation that I had all these rules and none of them were flexible in any format. I made a rule and therefore I expected everyone else to abide by that rule. Now, with the kids, that was also true. I would actually, having gone through my own childhood, obviously, and the exploration of where those rules are and all the rest of it, I would set a rule with the expectation, and I didn't allow for any flexibility, and that's also a fault. You need to allow people who are neurotypical to be able to have a little bit of flexibility, yet they can't act like a robot. They can't process 20, 50, 100, or unfortunately, if you're on the spectrum, maybe thousands of different rules that you've built up over a lifetime. They just can't hold all those different rules in their head, so they tend to work off a perception of what is right and wrong rather than actually establish rules, which is, as I said, why this has to be a series, because there are so many rules that those on the spectrum can develop. So it sort of comes down to, do not expect others to follow your rules all the time. You just can't put everything into a rule for other people. You can have rules for yourself, but remember, you also need to reflect upon those rules. Check to make sure that they're still good. Check to make sure that they're not doing more harm in a relationship or at your work site. Now, at your work site, that sounded so bad beforehand, I couldn't work out whether or not it's a website or a work site. But check the rules and make sure that they do hold true. If they don't hold true, then the rule needs to be rewritten, or the rule needs to be discarded. As simple as that. With age, you get wisdom, or at least that's what they say. I believe that with age, the rules begin to become developed sufficiently that they can allow you to understand others a lot better than what you have in your past. That allows you a better understanding of, I suppose, other people's rules that they may not actually understand themselves. And this is why I suppose I'm setting up this blog. I'm not saying that I am the answer to all your questions, but I'm going to try and give you answers as best as I can to any questions you have. So, throw questions at me, and I will attempt to use my lifetime to answer those questions. And yeah, maybe we can figure it out together. Talk soon.